Hello everybody! Excited to be here with you today to paint this winter owl scene. And the supplies that you're going to need are of course a canvas, your paint rag, you're going to need blue, 2 spaces of white, black, purple, and yellow on your palette. And you're going to need a pencil to draw our preliminary drawing. And I have these 4 brushes. You may not need these 4, but I like this one for the background space. Sometimes I like this brush, but more often than not, I don't use it as much. So we'll have to see what we need. But I have a flat brush, a large, medium, and small round brush. Those are the brushes you're going to need. And you're going to need 2 glasses of water, 1 for your blacks and 1 for your yellows and whites. You can use just 1 cup of water if you want to, but I actually think it works better to have 2 prepared so that you're not muddying up your yellows and whites with black. All right, so get your pencil in hand and let's begin. First of all, we have to draw our picture. And our owl is going to take up the majority of our picture, but we're going to go ahead and draw a line down at the bottom, sort of straightish. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to represent a branch. And our feet will need to be here. So we're probably going to use a marker here and here to show the bottom of our owl's feathers, which will overlap this a little. And then we're going to first start by coming up here and drawing a oval, like an egg shape. Now, I am not good at drawing them perfectly, so I have to have an eraser nearby to correct my drawing. I hope that makes you feel better. I'm not perfect. And I'm not doing this on an easel. I'm doing it laying down. So, and because I'm short, you know, it sometimes affects it. All right, so we have a round owl head. And now we need to come down on either side and bring an arc down, like a half circle, to the bottom of the feathers down here to meet our marks, like this. And this is going to be a very stylized owl. I'm not happy with that line, so I'm going to go ahead and remark it. It's not perfect, but I'll make it a little bit wider. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay. Now the next thing that we have to do is we need to do the feathers and the little ruffles at the bottom. So first of all, I'm going to do the ruffles, and I'm just going to kind of do a zigzag. You can do it more stylized or more exact. This is just fun, so it's doesn't have to be super correct. And then we're going to like basically divide those feathers into thirds. So we're going to come down here and over here and just do like an arc down. And that'll be the side feathers of our owl. About 1/3 of the way from here to here, so about right here. We're actually going to start doing some hump mountains here. I got 4 in. You might not get 4 in, I don't know. And that represents the bottom feather lines of our bird. Okay, and then the upper part will be some sort of a polka dot motif or what have you. And up here, we're going to do a little collar that will be kind of like whitish feathers, light feathers up here. And there'll be some polka dots on here. We're not going to draw those. About halfway up, you're going to make a polka dot. We're going to do our beak now. And we're going to make a V. It's going to be a V that creates the form that we need for the beak up to the ear. And then just stop. Okay? Okay, and then this line comes straight down and in a little bit of an arc to the top of the head. And believe it or not, we are almost finished with our drawing. We are going to go ahead and do an eye shape. We want it to be sort of like a big almond or a big egg. Give your owl pretty good size eyes. We're going to mark this in as the beak. Okay? Let you catch up with that. And I'm going to go ahead and put a moon. I think that would be kind of fun to do a crescent moon. You can use something like a roll of tape or thread bobbin or whatever you want to create your crescent, or just draw it in. Okay, now we have completed our drawing for our painting. So the first step that we are going to do when you've got that complete is to go ahead and paint the background of this. Okay, now you have two choices. You can mix your blue and black together to make a really deep midnight blue, which I really like, or you can use straight black. Okay, for this particular painting, I'm going to go ahead and use straight black, and I'm taking my wide flat brush, and I'm just going to create a surface all in the background. I'm not going to paint the owl. I'm just going to paint the background. And I like to do this by first doing an outline with the side of the brush. My brush is loaded with paint, although I'm not thickly applying it. It has enough to get the job done. Ooh, that was a little thick there. So you're going to use the side of your brush to do the work for you, okay? Don't scrub back and forth too much. We're not painting a house, we're doing a painting. So be careful not to mess up your brush's hair. Your brush can help you. It's a tool. So let it help you make nice clean lines, okay? And it's okay if it gets off a little bit. Hopefully you have something on your surface that's keeping it. I'm going to move my water back a little bit because it's getting in my way. And we don't want the paint by this moon to be too thick. It's actually okay if you're using blue, but I'm using black, and so I want it to be pretty neat. Okay. After you get your preliminary outlines done right next to your image, you can be a little sloppier with applying your paint. Right here, we want to use that brush to create a pretty clean line. And this is going to be our night sky. Okay, so if you haven't already started, go ahead, get your brush, get going, get that filled in. I've done a lot of different versions of this owl, so it'll be kind of fun to see them side by side at the end. I'm going to hold up my canvas because I'm working flat. It just seems to work better for me for these videos rather than doing the easel with my setup. Okay, and my easel is a giant one. I don't have a table easel at home right now, so I just decided to do it laying down. All right, you should be almost finished with your black background, which will be our night sky. And I'm going to go back in here and just kind of make sure I've got a really good coat of that black. So I don't want you to put another layer on necessarily, but just make sure your coverage is good, especially right here. And some of your paint, if it's not perfect, it's okay, because we're going to bring that owl paint right up to the edge of that black as soon as it dries. Okay, now we have done that part. We can rinse our brush in our black cup, the one you're using for your black paint. Give it a good wash. Take your towel or your rag and make sure you give it a good squeeze. Okay. We probably won't use this except for the tree and the big parts of the owl. So now we're going to go ahead and do our tree at the bottom of the page. Right down here, the tree limb that the owl is sitting on. I'm going to go ahead, and what we're going to do is just use this blue straight out of the tube. And we're going to create this space down here that will be our tree limb. And you can go over those feet a little bit, or the feathers down there, because we can paint over that. Don't make it too thick. We want a thin application on this because we're doing a background color first, and then we're moving on to our details, okay? So if we keep the application kind of thin, we can move quickly through the painting. We get it too thick, it will make it more hard for us to lay down our details on top. Beautiful, okay. Now, while you're down here and this is wet and you have your blue in your brush, go ahead and dip just a little bit of that white paint in there. Mostly dark blue and a little bit of white. And then you can come in here and with the side of your brush, put some highlights or tree texture in your tree. Just a touch of white. You want it to kind of mix on your canvas, okay? Beautiful. All right, so now we're going to mix the main color for our owl, okay? And what we're going to do is take blue. We're going to take a little bit of blue. I'm going to go ahead and make a place. Our owl's pretty big, so we're going to take a fair amount. And then we're going to add in some white. And then give it a good mix, okay? You want to make sure it's fully combined. You want this to be lighter than your tree. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add purple to this light blue. So I'm going to go ahead and dip into my purple and put it there and give it a good mix. I might even want more purple than that. I think I'm going to take more purple. You make your decision. We can always add more purple to our plate. Oh, this is pretty. So it's really more like a purpley blue. I think that's going to be a nice color. I'm going to make sure that my brush, all of the paint in my brush is fully mixed. So sometimes when you're loading a brush at the top of your bristles, it doesn't always mix in. All right, so when you get the color that you'd like for the background of your owl, whatever that is, we're going to go ahead and we are going to leave the eyes white. And we're going to leave the ears white. And we're going to paint our owl. Now, you can paint all over it if you want. Or you can use a tiny brush. I'm using this for the larger parts. And then I will go back in with the smaller round brush to do the details that I can't reach with my big brush. But this will save you some time. So I'm going to come in here. And I have left this here, but you can actually go ahead and paint over it, okay? If you really want to leave it, you can. I'm going to go ahead and paint over it because I can draw it back in. We're going to probably just hit that with some highlights at the top, okay? Now down here, I don't want to go in those feathers. So use your brush like little mountains and go over the tops. They don't have to be perfect. I'm going to paint that owl body in and go right between down here. I'm just going to leave it flat for right now, and then we're going to come down with our detail brush and make those little feathers that we drew in. And you can use this to go around. Okay, and then we're going to do the top. I'm going to fill in this little brow part. Fill in the head. With this purpley blue that we've created. And you may lose some of your drawing. It's okay. Because we can put it right back in. I just wanted to give you an idea of how we're mapping out this drawing. Okay. Great. You should have your owl just about finished. The background part. Now, all we're going to do now is change brushes. So I'm pretty much done with this big brush for right now. I don't think we're going to need it for much more. Okay, so you can go ahead and put it in your water and give it a clean. I suggest going ahead and cleaning them right away because you can just leave them set in the water. I mean, that won't hurt anything, but acrylic paints, they like to set in, and you want to make sure that you're being good to your paints and making sure, or your brushes, making sure they're not getting all gumped up. Okay, let's grab this brush, which is the medium round brush, and dip it into our same color that we did for the owl. Now we're going to go back and put a few of those details in that maybe we didn't quite get with that big brush. And you might be more comfortable with this brush than the other one. Now down here, we're going to go ahead and come, and I'm going to add just a smidge of white because this is pretty similar, and we're going to make those feathers just a little bit lighter down here, coming over the top of that tree branch. Okay? So just a touch of white down here. And I'm just going to kind of pull it up. This is going to show where our feathers are over top of our tree. And you want it to kind of almost blend in, so it's a really slow fade. Okay? Just maybe 3 of them down there. Alrighty. Now, while this is drying up a little bit, and you guys are finishing up, we're going to go ahead and paint our snow on the back of this. And this is a really fun way to do this. I like to use the bottom of my paintbrush to do that. And so this is like the super fun part. You can first clean your brush really good, and we're going to go to straight white. So you need to clean that brush really good. And make sure you're switching water if you're doing white, okay? So here we're going to dip into our white, and I'm first going to paint this moon, being really careful not to drag the gray paint too much. Just give it a little coat. Don't be too exacting. You can come back to it later and neaten it up, but you don't want to get into that black paint. Now, if you have blue paint, it's kind of fun because when you smear it, it makes like a little shadow on the back side of the moon, which can be kind of cool. Okay. Now, we are still going to use white, but I want you to clean your brush because we're not using the bristles. We're going to use the end of the paintbrush, okay? It's really fun. It's one of my favorite parts of this painting. So we're going to use the end of our paintbrush, and we're going to make snow falling in the darkness, okay? So we're going to dip our brush into the paint like this and start dropping little snow flurries. Now, if you prefer to think of them as stars, you could, but I kind of like the idea of it being like snow. And it is super fun to do and easy. You can do some that are bigger and some that are smaller. And I like to go all the way down. And then whenever you run out of paint and they start to lighten up, you want to get some more paint. And put it on the end of your brush. So don't get too many now, because it is easy to get carried away. It's a really fun thing to do. When you look at it, squint your eyes. You want to make sure that there's enough in all the places on your canvas. Oop, I ran out of paint there, didn't I? Oh, how fun. Okay, so now it almost looks like a cat now, doesn't it? So we're going to take our rag and wipe the end of our brush. We don't want to get that all over ourselves. And now we're going to stay with white again, but now we're going to go back and we're actually going to paint the eyes white. And the reason I'm doing this is to really bump up that yellow underneath, okay? So go ahead. Paint those eyes white. And this, sometimes yellow paint just doesn't have the opacity or the chalkiness to support the brightness that we're looking for in our light and our pigments. So we sometimes put white behind it to help it. And you could do that with your ears too if you wanted. You don't have to, but the eyes are the most important part of this owl. So I did it for sure, do it on your eyes, but you don't have to do it. I just do that to kind of bump up the intensity of the yellow. Okay, now the next part is painting white on the collar feathers. So you're just going to take your same brush and just fill in your little owl collar. And it's okay if it actually turns a little bit blue. That's kind of cool. You don't want it to be too blue, but you can get a few of those wet spots to blend in a little. And it kind of looks like a shadow on white feathers under his head. So just like little hills. Okay. It really does look like a cat, doesn't it? So funny. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush in my white water. And we're going to let this blue part dry just a little bit. But we are going to add some of that light blue. So let's take this color right here and add white to it. And we're going to do those shoulder blades. We want it to be that purple color, but just a little bit lighter than the rest of the bird. And we're going to do the shoulder parts. Okay, so the part that we drew here, what we're going to do is come right here at the feather and make a line that goes up like this. Okay, and right inside there, we're going to just give a little bit of color variation. And we're going to do this while it's wet so that it kind of mixes a little bit. And you could leave the bottom dark if you wanted. Make it sort of grade into a light color at the top, but I think it's easier just to go on, drag it down till it kind of disappears. And all we're doing is just giving a slight color variance for interest, okay? Okay, now let's clean our brush. We're going to go down to the bottom to do those bottom feathers. So the color that we're going to be using right now is this yellow color. And be sure that you're moving to your light, the water that you're using to rinse your white, okay? It's important. Now, we are going to go ahead and put our ears in. I think I'm going to let those ears dry a little bit. So let's go ahead and come down here. We're going to kind of do yellow and white alternating down here. So we're going to go ahead and put our white first and our yellow stripe next. So we're using this yellow and we're going into the second stripe. You just fill in your feathers really however you want, okay? This is how I'm doing it, but you do it however, and I don't know, your feathers might be different than mine. You might have more or less feathers down here, but you color it the way that you like to color it. So we'll do the same here. We'll try to make it symmetrical. And we can see our pencil shining through there a little bit. It's one of the other reasons why we do white. And as your feather comes down, you can see why it was important for us to put white. We'll correct that. Very cool. All right, let's go ahead and hit the top of our ears very carefully with yellow on top of that white. And then we're going to color our eyes in. Same way, okay? If you want your moon to be yellow, you could. I leave mine white in mine. But you could make your moon yellow if that tickles your fancy. Now, these bright owl eyes are starting to glow. Love it. All right. Now we're going to take our yellow, and I'm actually going to mix a little white with the yellow because it needs to have a little bit more coverage, okay, over our blue that we're getting ready to paint. So we have this row of white here, and then we're going to imagine a row of blue or purple that's the same color as the bird. And then down here, we're going to make 3 little feather things. They're sort of like ovals. They have a flat top and then just a round, but you can even just do polka dots with your brush. And it's okay if it mixes a little. You want to kind of keep your brush clean. So wipe off in between and get a fresh yellow. And then you're going to skip a line where the same color of the bird would be. And do another set down here. Okay. And then make sure your brush is clean. I'm wiping it in on my rag in between each application to make sure I'm not mixing a new green color. It can be easy to do after you pick up some stuff that's on your canvas, okay? And then you're going to skip another one down here. And then you're going to skip another one and come down here. Just skip a space so that you can make room for a blue one that's going to be there. And then maybe one more right here. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing with just white. We're going to do some white ones in there too. So get your brush clean, wipe it on your rag, get in some clean white. And now we're going to do maybe another row of white. Kind of down here. 1, 2, 3. Clean your brush. More clean white. And maybe one down here. Okay. And maybe one right there. Okay. Now I want you to clean your brush off. You can keep the white in there, but just go ahead and rub it on your rag to get that extra blue off. You can clean it if you want. I might clean mine a little. And then now we're going to fill in these spots right here with white. Okay. Bring it down into a point. And you can hit the bottoms of those yellow points if you want. It's going to drag a little of your blue up, but that's okay. Gives our bird interest. Clean white. Just sort of taper it off. And I'm going to go ahead and do the sky. We can come back in with a little yellow on that guy. Clean my brush. Clean white. I really dragged into that blue up there, but that's all right. I cleaned my brush. Okay, we got our feathers. I'm going to clean up this yellow while you guys finish up. You can see I've kind of created this green color, so I'm going to lift it real quick and correct it. Just whatever you end up doing, just be sure that it looks like it's on purpose. Okay? Beautiful. Okay, while you all are doing that, finishing up your feathers, I'm actually contemplating, because of the color scheme, of using a darker yellow, which if you have a dark yellow that looks like this, like a yellow ochre, I'm going to use that a little bit just because I like it. Yellow ochre is one of my favorite colors. I'm so weird. And to add interest to this, I'm going to actually kind of give it some value at the top. You don't have to do this, but I kind of like the idea of there being other colors, other values in the painting besides just the straight yellow. So on the parts that are yellow, I'm going to take that dark yellow and drag it down from the top, sort of like a setting it on there and flicking. And I'm going to hit some of the tops of these. You could even do a polka dot if you wanted, using the end of your brush. I don't want to cover up all the regular yellow, I just want to create some interest there. Okay? Alrighty. Now, we're going to go back with our detail brush, and we're going to dip into that same light blue, the light blue that we used to do the shoulders, and we're going to, mine's dried up a little bit, I'm going to add water to it, just a smidgen, because it got a little dry. And I'm going to give a little eyelid over the top, or like the fluff of feathers that are around the eye. Just a little bit lighter. Than the background purple color. And I just touched a white and dragged it across just to accentuate the fact that it's a little bit lighter. Okay, we're going to let that dry. Take the same detail brush, and I'm going to use my dark yellow. Now, if you don't have dark yellow, then you don't have to do this part, but I'm going to put a little in the ear right here. To create depth. But you don't have to do that unless you want to. Okay, so while you're finishing, I'm going to add a little depth to the eye down here by adding a little dark yellow and over the top. Okay, and we still need to let that dry just a little bit. So let's go ahead and do our details. We need to use probably our medium brush and black. So you can move your water again. We're actually really close to being finished, believe it or not. We just have to do our black details. So let's head on into that. Go ahead and get your medium round brush and your straight flat black. Now, I like it to be kind of juicy, so I'm going to add a couple of drops of water to my acrylic paint, but I want to make sure it's mixed up really well. Because if it's not, parts of it will be really runny and other parts will be globby. So you need to get that on there, and then you need to clean up that brush and get it nice and pointy. Okay? And I mixed this water up, so I'm actually going to clean that. Because my brush is a little bit older, so it needs a little help getting its hair cleaned. So I'm going to clean it, and then make sure it has a pretty pointy hairdo. That's what we tell our kids. Make sure it's nice and pointed. And then we're going to use the tip in there, like this. And we're going to do our details. So we want it to be pretty pointy, just on the end there. And we're going to start doing our details, okay? So let's start by doing our nose. What we're going to do is, where our little polka dot was, we're going to go straight up to that ear. If you want to start at the ear and come down, you can do that. We're going to go right on the outside of that ear. Right on the outside of that ear. Clean your brush because you've got yellow on there. Okay, I'm going to darken this line because I see that it's not super dark. And then we're going to go ahead and fill in our beak with black. So just make like that little triangle there. And you just have to make an artistic decision about where your beak ends, okay? All right, more black details. We're going to leave our eyes because they're a little bit wet right now, and come down here. We're going to do our outline here. Around our head. On the outside of this ear. All right, now we're going to go under this white right here, like little hills, using the tip of our brush. And from here down. I ran out of paint there, so I'm going to come down here. Finish that up. Excuse me. All right. And what we did up here, we're going to do the same thing down here with in the opposite direction. We're going to hop over these like little mountains. And you could use a smaller brush if you want to. But this is really stylized. And then I'm going to do the shoulders down on the outside. And it's looking pretty good. So go ahead and get your owl outlined the way that you like. And the next step that we need to do is probably do the feet. And I'm going to actually move to my detail brush, my little small brush. And I'm actually going to make sure, I don't think I put enough black, so I'm going to put a little more black on my palette. So I rubbed it around a lot. And we're going to do those feet real quick. The little claws at the bottom. we're going to kind of do C's out. Bigger, you press it down and then flick. Press it down and then flick. And then one over here. So we're going to pretend like he has 3 claws sticking out. And then while we're down there, let's go ahead and do our outline. Excuse me, my allergies are really bad this last couple of weeks. I'll take a sip of my coffee, keep from coughing in front of you guys. All right, so now we're going to fill in the details of the belly, and those eyes are still a little bit wet, but we're going to get to it. All right, so let's go ahead and do some details. We're going to imagine that there is a blue set down here that we didn't color in. So you just kind of make these little loops that way. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of outline these guys that we already did. Using our detail brush. So just go in with your detail brush and do some little mountainy things here. And then the ones that are imaginary underneath it. The blue that we left there. And the number really is up to you. I mean, I'm not exactly perfect on this, but it's kind of fun just to make it happen as you're going. Gives the impression that there were sets of feathers down there. And now what we're calling the imaginary feathers. I only say that because we didn't really paint them. They're just part of the background. And this one, we have a space. So let's do another set for fun. And around our yellow. And you're just going to fill it in. And you have your artistic license to do whatever you think looks good. You always can use different colors and approach it differently based on your preference. All right. Now I think what we're going to do is go ahead and do the eyelid. You can use this detail brush or your medium brush. It is a little wet there, but that's okay. We're going to do our owl eyelid. We're going to make it kind of thick because we want it to look like, cool owl eyes. Okay, and you want to clean your brush because you can either use water or just use your rag because I did pick up a little yellow on there. Okay, we're going to let that kind of dry for a minute. And we're going to go ahead and put in the center of our eye, which is going to be black, but it's going to be really juicy. And we don't want to get our paint mixed. We just want to put a big eyeball in there. Like a blob of paint. And I like mine to be touching the top lid, but that's just me. You can do yours however you think it looks good. Okay. Oh, it's coming together. It's coming together. Okay. I am looking at all the details. We have done everything. We didn't put darks on the tree limb. And we might want to do a detail line under the ear. So we might want to come over here and do this. But I'll leave that up to you. I think mine needs a little neatening up because my line was kind of wiggly. All right. Now, we need to use this detail brush, and we are going to create a kind of light blue. Make sure you get it clean. Don't get the black out of it. And we could use this if you wanted, but I actually kind of want it to be even lighter than that. And we're going to do some details on the forehead in that V. And we're going to take our brush and set it down and drag it upward like this. Okay, to give him some detail. And then you can go ahead and just mix right into this blue that you used for him and add a little bit of either dark blue or black to it. And we're going to give the owl, I don't know if you can see that color, I used this color and a little bit of blue to make it dark. We want it to be kind of in a similar color family, but just a little bit darker than what's on his face, okay? And then we're going to do a few little dots. We're just going to dot it around. Try to avoid around the eye area. I just remembered we're going to put white there, so. We're just giving him some areas of interest that are just slightly darker than what we painted. Okay? Alrighty. Now we're going to take our finger, friends. You can use the back of your paintbrush if you want, but I'm going to take my finger. I'll probably use my pointer, and I'm going to do some yellow dots, some dark yellow dots, and maybe some blue dots on the owl's feathers, okay? So put your finger in, and I'm just going to come in here and do maybe 3. I should have used the one that had white in it. That would have been smarter. So get some white and yellow. Okay, then I'm going to wash my finger off. I'm going to get some of this dark yellow. Wipe my finger off. And I'm going to get some of this blue. I'm going to use a smaller finger for the blue, my pinky. And I'm going to come in here and put some blue dots. Not too many. Okay, looking good. I'm going to wipe my finger off. Take your detail brush. Clean detail brush. Don't want any black in it. And you're going to get a dot of white and put right in the center of his little eye, just to make him come alive. Now, you can go in and alter your details a little bit, clean up any edges that you like, but this is our beautiful winter owl. I hope you had a really good time. I sure did. I enjoyed it. And don't forget, you can sign your name. I don't usually sign my name, but you can sign your name to your owl. And I think I'm going to do one more thing, because, you know, I'm famous for reworking. I want to put some little feathers coming out from his eye right here. Then I will feel like it is done. I hope you've enjoyed doing this painting of the winter owl with me. I sure have. Have a great day, and don't forget to create something every single day. Bye-bye.